Yep. 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 100%. Yep. So within a very short amount of time, he convinced me to leave my place. And the interesting thing about this, and this is, where women and men, but I'm going to be concentrating on women here because I think women fall into this trap a lot more than men do, is it being presented as a gift. And that's where the manipulation really came to bay with me. I look back, or I would look back while I was in that relationship, and I'd be like, I'm so stupid. Like, I'm so dumb for falling for this. But I have to remember that it was presented in a way of like him helping me. And he did help me. He presented it with, you're struggling. Let me help you. Why wouldn't you let me help you? Just move in. You don't have any bills. You don't have to pay anything. Just take care of the house. And in my mind, I was like, wow, thank you. Thank you for saving me. So moving in and feeling grateful that he would do that. And then, not being able to, my job isn't paying me enough, or we're not spending enough time together. So, hey, listen, why don't you quit your job and why don't you work for my company? And then we can spend lots of time together and we can build an empire together and we can retire together. And it's going to be so magnificent. And me being like, wow, really amazing. I love it. So quitting my job and going for his. And then, realizing very soon after that he's paying me pennies, and giving the excuse of, well, you don't have to pay for rent and you don't have to pay for utilities. So here's just a little bit of cash, to pay for groceries if you need some. And realizing that I have no money in my account because he's just giving me a little bit here and there to pay for things that I need. And not being able to pay for things like my phone bill. So then coming to him and saying, hey, I can't pay my phone bill this month. And instead of him being like, oh, let me pay you more for all of the work you're doing, working 10 to 14 hours a day at my company for free, basically. He was paying me $250 a week at that time. And I still was paying for all of my gas, all of my groceries, everything for my son. So I was basically left with zero at the end of every month, not being able to pay for my phone bill and saying like, hey, I can't pay for my phone bill. I need more money. And instead of him being like, let me pay you more money, he's like, why don't you close down your phone bill and go under my phone? And then me being like, oh my gosh, really? Wow. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me also. And going along in this cycle of him gifting me things that's actually slowly taken away my independence. And as this was slowly happening, the verbal abuse, the mental abuse, the financial abuse, obviously, the sexual abuse got worse and worse and worse and worse. I would literally be crying my eyes out at least once a day, if not more, of just being completely. I used to say this a lot, and he used to call me such a drama queen. But for those of you that are in relationships like this, and I'm sure, Maureen, you can identify with this, I used to say that he was stabbing me. And, I'd be like, I feel like you're stabbing me over and over and over again. And he would just roll his eyes and he'd be like, you're so dramatic. I've never hit you. I've never been physical with you. Any girl would die to have the situation that you're in right now. But the verbal abuse was so sharp. It was so detrimental to me that it literally felt as if I was getting stabbed. That's how bad it was. Yep. 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 Yeah, so there was two moments. One of which I'll tell first is the one that I tell the most, only because most people don't want to hear like the whole drawn out story. But there's actually two, since you're asking me the question. There's two moments. So the first one that I tell all the time is I'm in the bathroom, on the floor, in the dark, having a complete mental breakdown, as I did probably weekly in this relationship. But just like and for those that are in these abusive relationships, this, like when you just can't, like you're literally just dying and screaming and crying. Just everything is pouring out of you because you're just feeling so trapped and you're feeling so helpless. So I'm in the bathroom on the floor, and I had my phone in my back pocket, and I pull out my phone and I Googled, why is my boyfriend bullying me? Because I didn't know any other vernacular other than bully. And the entire world of abuse just hit me right in the face. Literally on the floor, I went from this just helpless, I like describe myself as like a little mouse, just like no way out, to all of a sudden my eyes just beaming with brightness of like, oh my God. This is me. Everything here is me. This is my relationship. This is the fuckery that I have been dealing with. And I dove headfirst into narcissistic abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, empathy, codependency, and recognized that not only was he totally messed up in the brain, but I was also totally messed up in the brain. And I dove headfirst into personal development. About, I don't even know how much later, maybe 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, I don't even know, he proposed to me. Yeah, he proposed to me. And it was a whole thing, like crazy. We went to a different state. We were arguing the entire time. It was in Roswell, Georgia, which is now where my now fiance's kids live. So that's awesome. It was in Roswell, Georgia. We had flown or driven up there to go look at a car. He had, since I was using his car all the time, I was putting miles on it to work, and my kid was school, and it was kind of a higher end car, the one that I was using at that time, because he was using the other ones, or I don't even know. So he was going to invest in another car for me. Right. So we went up there to go look at a BMW, a beautiful BMW, white, like tan. He had asked me on several different occasions, because I'm like super low maintenance. So, he's like, we need to get you a car because you're just putting so many miles on my cars, and my cars are expensive and this and that. You're lowering the whatever. So I'm like, just buy me a freaking Honda. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll take a Kia. It doesn't matter to me. Just whatever. Let's go to CarMax. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. What do you want? And I'm like, I'm not doing this game. Because by that time I already know, in the whole Indian giver thing, like nothing they give is actually a gift. It's always like, it's a way for them to manipulate you. So one day he like caught me at a weak moment. He's like, if you could have any car in the whole world, with no price restraints, what would it be? And I just named off something just totally ridiculous. I was like, white BMW, fully loaded, tan interior, sunroof, dual exhaust, like whatever. I named off like 7 different things that I didn't even know this car existed. I just was like, all the things, right? He fucking found a car. The exact things that I asked for, right? That's romantic. So we drive up to Roswell. I'm literally like, I can't even believe this is happening right now. Like, are you serious? So we drove up. He complained the whole time. We were arguing the whole time up. We got there. He was like, this sucks. The car was beautiful, by the way, but he's like perfectionist and OCD. So he's like, this sucks and this sucks. And there's a scratch here and there's a little scratch here. The thing was gorgeous. So we leave. He's all pissed off. He's like, I can't believe we freaking drove all the way up here, blah, 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 blah. Drops me off at the mall. I'm pissed. We're not even talking. I'm like, I just can't anymore with this. I just want to leave this relationship so bad. So he picks me up like 5 hours, 6 hours later. I don't even know. He said he was going to go check out another dealership. He had all this rigmarole. Picks us up from the mall. My son was with us, by the way. We go out to eat, really fancy restaurant. At the restaurant, he's all of a sudden like,